I know they're a thing now, but these are actually fantastic resources for learning about anatomy. I'll be giving you like a page every now and then of things we're studying, but these are actually really, in some cases the chapter will be more detailed in the coloring book than it will be in your textbook. So these are really good resources. It doesn't matter which one. Whatever one you find works. And I'll have these accessible in my office if anybody wants to make a copy of a page sometime. So you can do that. And I really want to hear, because these are new this year for me, for the cost change, I really want to hear what your opinion of them is as we go. Okay? All right. So the course structure here sort of follows the same format as the book. And so in the syllabus, you'll see these topics are arranged by week. And we'll spend part of the time on each of these days talking about, I'll be telling you about these different areas, talking to you about it in sort of a traditional lecture format. But then we are going to devote quite a lot of class time to in-class assignments in partners and small groups. I don't know if y'all noticed, but something like 80% of y'all said, I'm a good talker in small groups, but not a big class, which is a pretty common thing. Even folks that are good in a big class are better in a small group. So I don't require outside group work. I find that to be too difficult for most people to kind of line it all up. Everybody has crazy schedules. Half of y'all have kids or something, or jobs or lives, or live in Beaverton or whatever. All that stuff will be done in class. Individual assignments will be, I'll sometimes leave class time if we have time, but they can be completed outside of class time. Is that fair? Okay. I know everybody's like, oh God, group work. But I think it's better when it's in class. I hope they'll be okay. So there will be different kinds of assignments. If you've read through the syllabus, you'll see different kinds of assignments that will be assigned throughout the class. So coloring assignments, including drawing, not just coloring in somebody else's drawing, but actually drawing it out. You need that. You can't just memorize lists of anatomical terms. If I could give you just one piece of advice, and I'll give you lots of unsolicited advice, don't worry. But if I had to pick one for learning anatomy, is to learn it in 3D from the start. Do not look at a flat piece of paper and just memorize where it is on that picture. You need to understand how things relate to each other in space, because your brain is 3D. We have models. So this is the best one we have right now. Unfortunately, this class doesn't have a course fee, does it? It doesn't, right? I don't remember. It does, anyway. There are no course fees, so I can't find models. So right now there's only one, and a couple other old ones in Newburgh in the basement in 85. So you can access this. I keep this one in my office so it doesn't walk away, because it's the best one we have. It's very detailed. You can take it apart to look at the different pieces. The cingulate on the inside, the corpus callosum, all that, brainstem, all that stuff. There are some other ones in the main office area of 85. Y'all know where that is down there. Come to the basement. It's a lovely place. Access these resources. Learn in 3D. So drawing assignments will kind of help you put that together to understand the relationship between structures. We'll also be doing role-playing assignments in small groups. So things like, how does the motor system work? I'm the thalamus, you're the muscle. Here's some cotton ball neurotransmitters to throw at each other. Really fun. And a lot of these, I'll tell you, like a lot of these are from like teaching neuroscience to kids, and I was like debating, are these patronizing, and that's not my intent. I think they're really cool. So like things like this, the brain hat, we're going to do this in a minute. Because I could give you multiple choice tests with brain structures just to see where you're at before the start of class, but I think making a brain hat's a little funner. And maybe more memorable, anyway. So those assignments will be hands-on throughout the class. We'll do case studies so you can understand what happens when brains don't work the way they should. All that kind of stuff. I also want y'all to do some what I call learning experiences. If you've had class with me before, you might recognize this assignment. And those are things that you do outside of class, and you follow your own curiosity for those. So you can read about them in the syllabus. They're things like pick a book, find a book that you find interesting, and read it, and then report back. So you'll give a summary about the book with your reflections. Interview somebody relevant to the course. It could be a speech language pathologist, it could be a neuroscientist, but please ask me about how to approach somebody that you don't know to interview, so you're not like, hey, answer my questions, and then people are going to be emailing me going, Sarah, what to do? I don't have time for this. I had several really nice art projects out of this assignment, so if you're an artist, photography, drawing, sculpture, visual, or anything, I had somebody dance one time. And it's relevant to the class. That's another learning experience. Part of that learning experience is presenting your art to the class. And there are several, you'll see the others. If you have, create your own adventure. If you have an idea for an alternative, let me know. And one that's not in the list that I'll address real quick since it's in my brain is the cadaver lab. So PSU is lucky enough to partner with OHSU, and we do have a cadaver lab down at the waterfront. So have you been down there before? The spaceship building on the river. I don't remember what it's actually called. CLSB. Thank you. I only remembered was the acronym and the spaceship view. It's a gorgeous building. It's fairly new. The venting is excellent, if anybody's ever been in a biolab before. And they don't take the brains out of the cadavers. They get 4 or 6 new cadavers every year in the biology lab, which is a wonderful, wonderful gift that somebody is given. So it's really important that we respect that. But they don't take the brains out of the brain cases until winter. So unfortunately, the brains won't be available this term. So I don't have an assignment related to that. However, I will let you know soon. I'm working out a way for y'all to spend time in the lab because they have lots of really detailed models that are accessible to all PSU students. And you should take advantage of that resource. And so that can be a learning experience to visit and spend some quality time in the open lab sessions they have down there. They have ventricle models and these adorable little ossicle models. My favorite ones. Have you seen a real cochlea before? It's as big as half your pinky nail. It's tiny. So yeah, that'll be another opportunity for y'all. And if anybody's really interested, I might be able to find buckets of brains from somebody. They don't have to be outside of class because these tables, that won't work. So if anybody's interested in that, send me an email and I'll see what I can figure out. Okay. So this is the breakdown of all those assignments. I'll divide those assignments into these percentages. So the number of those might change. Since we're using a new text this year, I want to leave some flexibility for timing. So if we end up with, I didn't want to put have in mind an exact number of those in case we need to shift things, but it'll be divided across. The other thing, there will be 2 exams, and I will do pop quizzes periodically just to check in on reading. I don't teach directly out of the book all the time, but you need to read in this class. You might be able to I know a lot of people, or I've heard, hold on, how am I saying this properly? I don't want to offend anybody, hang on. This is wrong. So I've heard from a lot of people, do I really need to read the book? Because in other classes, they say I need to read the book, and I don't. Like I never needed it, or never used it. That is not going to be the case if you need to read the book. This is a in-depth topic, and for many of you, it's a new topic. For most of you, it's a newer topic. So don't get behind on the reading, because then you'll feel much more pressure when it comes to the exams. And one of this stuff is really cool. So we'll do these mini reading check quizzes every now and then. They're unscheduled. Along those lines, I'll come back to it, but if you do have a documented disability, let me know, send me an email right after class, unless you've already talked to me about it, because pop quizzes make that a little bit trickier. So we'll just need to make sure that we can do the timing right if you have adjustments for testing or anything like that. Just let me know. I'm flexible. I expound on these at length in the syllabus, but I won't read it to you. I don't grade attendance and participation. As I mentioned when I was asking about communication, I expect in one shell to be different communicators. That's why I love this field, because everybody has a different style and different expectations around communication. So I don't grade on that. However, attendance and participation is sort of a basic thing you have to do when you're enrolled in a class in order to learn. So that's sort of, you get out of it what you put into it. And so I want y'all to take responsibility for your learning, which you are if you're here, right? So just keep that in mind. You don't need to let me know when you're going to miss class. If you're going to miss an assignment or a an exam, or if you happen to miss a pop quiz, I won't give makeups. So if it's an emergency, like we're talking like, oh my gosh, I was in a car accident and broke my leg, sorry, let's the ER. Sure, that's an emergency. But weddings aren't emergencies, getting a cold's not an emergency, all that kind of stuff's not an emergency. If I think there's a way to reschedule through the testing center, and for that kind of stuff, for the bigger exams, sure, we can work that out, but I'll have to go through the testing center. There's a lot of y'all. It's only one of me. I do ask, so colds aside, colds just float around. You won't, by the time you're showing signs of colds, you've been contagious for a week. So the actual sneezing and sniffling part is like kind of too late. But flus, any kind of illness that could really injure somebody that has immunological, like a lowered immune system, older or younger, people have babies are really susceptible to that sort of thing. Don't come to class. Stay home and get better. Don't be a disease vector. Colds, I understand. But, okay. One of the biggest things to make a class like this work when we're doing group assignments and discussions, hello, goodbye, is respect. So I want you to respect each other and me, obviously. And so I want you to be thinking about ways that you're communicating or paying attention in class that demonstrate that respect or don't demonstrate that respect. Like, I'm not going to me, but like looking in your lap and smiling, like I know you're not. I know there's a phone in your lap, okay? And it's distracting to me, and it's also disrespectful to your classmates to do that. It's very distracting to people around you. It's not just the person sitting there, like everybody around them is like I can see like a clump of people that are like now gone. And has anybody ever heard of civil attention? Y'all heard of that before? Civil attention. It's a thing, and it helps me understand. I mean, I went through college like not that long ago, right? So, if you ever sat in a meeting, get your notes, and really like your notes are like grocery list, or oh man, I need that yarn for my knitting project, or whatever it is that you're doing. Civil attention is where you're expected to make eye contact with the person in charge and look like you're paying attention, so you're being civil, but you're not actually paying attention. So pay attention to that. It's really easy to do. It's a cultural expectation. So I just want to ask of you to do more than that, because you get out of it what you put into it. And one of those things is attending with more than just a smile and a nod. Okay, does that make sense? Thanks. I mean, we all do it, so I get it. And sometimes you're like, okay, brain break. Like your brain stops after 40, mine does. After 40 minutes, it's like, okay, I'm back. But yeah, just want to say that. And then something else about that. Oh, and respect of your classmates. So, not so much in this class, although they're, like when you bring up brain facts and brain myths, sometimes there are things that are controversial. Please don't laugh at people's questions or scoff if somebody doesn't know something. I expect since y'all are here, y'all are probably pretty good about not doing that sort of thing, but I do want you to think about what kind of message that's in somebody when you do that. I have had incidents in class where people can be disrespectful to each other, so please don't do that. I'll call you on it if it happens, but it might be after the fact, because at the moment I'll be like, how would you do that? And so that also includes, issues of diversity. So this doesn't come up so much in this class again, but kind of a story. So there are a lot of myths around like racial differences in brain function, and they are myths. And things have come up like that in previous classes. So I just want you to be thinking about what kind of messages, questions, or opinions about things like that since your peers. The next thing here is privacy. So I'm obligated by law not to share things about y'all from this class. The only thing I'm allowed to do, according to FERPA, you know what FERPA is? The Family Education, I don't remember what it stands for. Federal laws protecting people in school is the short version of that. Protects kids all the way through college classes. The only thing I can share is that you're in my class. I can't share grades with anybody. I can't talk about what you talk about in class, except for to other faculty when it's necessary for your education. And faculty do talk to each other. But, so if you bring something in class that's sensitive, or you're sharing something about yourself, because I will ask questions like that. So, does anybody, Has anybody ever participated in a neurological exam, for example? I'll ask that. You don't have to share any of those things. But I am federally obligated, I would do it anyway, to not share things you share in class. Does that make sense? However, when you are sharing things, keep in mind that students in the class are not similarly required by law not to share. Now, I would ask if somebody shares something that you find sensitive or maybe private, don't share it. But you're just keep in mind when you're sharing. And I bring that up because people with cognitive or language impairments are discriminated against. And when employers find out that somebody has an illness or injury, you'd like to think that if you just explain what your accommodations are, that everything would be fine and taken into consideration. But people are really scared of other people with impairments sometimes, and they can lose their jobs. They can have hours. That's the most common one in patients I've had, where their hours are just like it's like just never scheduled. They can have an hourly job, and so I just want you to. That's sort of why this is an important topic to me. Okay, any questions about that stuff? Heavy. Anybody has any questions? Like why I take all that stuff so seriously, or concerns in that area? Definitely approach me after class if you need to. Not after class, literally, but via email or okay. So D2L email. I communicate. The most common way I communicate with classes is via D2L. So check D2L every day. I will send out emails if there's a quick announcement, so check your email. When you email me, I just get a huge volume of emails. I probably have like 50 since class started. And so it takes me to about 2 weekdays to respond to emails just because I go first in, first out. So I just go through it and it takes me a while. If you need me more urgently, try to drop by my office. If you see the door open, you can catch me. But otherwise, try not to ask last minute questions about like exams and things, because I might not be able to respond that fast. It's only one of me and one of y'all. I already kind of addressed laptops and smartphones. I like Googling things and like looking at my, I don't have it with me actually, but looking at my phone just as much as the next person. And in fact, I used to say like, no laptops or phones. But I found that it's actually kind of cool in class. Because I don't know everything. And if y'all say something that I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. And so it's actually kind of cool when somebody sits there and finds out while we're sitting there. Like, ooh, I don't know FERPA. What's that acronym stand for? And somebody finds out. So that part's okay, but I do want you to police yourself. I sat behind somebody one time that watched a movie during every class. And it wasn't, which I was always, and the professor knew, was like, why don't you say something? Oh, God. I was like, and I couldn't, we were assigned seats, which was also silly. So I couldn't move. And it just distracted him. Everybody behind him was totally distracted. It was really frustrating. No, none of y'all would do that. But just police yourself. It's so easy. And I'm sure when you study, you do this. You're happily typing along. You're like, oh, Facebook. Or, ooh, look, I get an email. There went your focus. So laptops and everything are okay, but just be aware. And it's a good time to practice common courtesy. Yeah, that's all I want to say about that. Visit my office. I know it sounds like office hours might not work for a lot of y'all, so I'll work on that. But do try to visit me one time during the term. I hold office hours because I want you to come by. So I'm not just saying that come by if you have a question. I do want to know who y'all are. Class works better when there's good rapport. That's why I spend so much time talking to y'all, learning your names, all that kind of thing. It helps learning to do that. So I do want y'all to feel like you can come down to my office. Come down to the basement, spend time with the models, all those things. Do try to visit. I think I already mentioned documented disabilities, but definitely talking about that, whether or not the ERC will be. And academic conduct, I looked at the resources. I think on the syllabus there's a link to the Dean of Student Life for plagiarism, which shouldn't be too much of a problem in here, so I'm not writing papers and things. I take it very seriously, though. I've had a few incidences of cheating, and I don't want that to happen. So go and take a look at what constitutes cheating, and don't do that. The student conduct is also about respect and respecting diversity of opinion, among other things. Okay. Do you have any questions about the way class is going to go? Now that I've talked about a lot of heavy stuff. You want to jump into overview? Brain overview? Ready for that? Okay. So, I'm reading the first chapter. I'll let you switch brain gears. You might break them up with them. Okay. If you haven't had a chance, so today we'll cover chapter 1, and we'll be covering chapter 2 and 3. Or I'll expect you to have read chapter 2 and 3 on Wednesday. About neurological exams and kind of the organization of the nervous system and its development. But today I'm just going to give you a general overview of kind of why this stuff matters, what it means to the field of speech language pathology and audiology as well, epidemiology, all that kind of stuff. And it's organized differently than I've seen in other anatomy classes. So hopefully this will help us get started. So when you start thinking about the nervous system, this is its general organization. This is sort of your map. Whenever you're learning an anatomical system, it's good to think in terms of maps. So where does this knowledge fit into what else I know? So this is your top level. So it's split into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So what's in the central nervous system? Yep. What about the peripheral nervous system? All your cranial nerves and your spinal nerves. Another way to think about this is that your central nervous system is all encased in bone. So it's all inside your skull or your vertebrae. And everything that exits the bone, so your cranial nerves or your spinal nerves that innervate everything else, those are all peripheral nerves. Okay. Pretty straightforward. And we'll come back to the major divisions when we talk more on Wednesday. So that's our big overview. So here's your brain. So this is part of your central nervous system. And then we'll kind of get more and more fine level of detail as we go, or build our way up, I should say. I need a model of spine. Find one of those. Okay. So neurological disorders are the main reason we're studying this. It's fun to learn this stuff because I think the brain is really cool. But this is our ultimate purpose, to be able to apply our knowledge of the brain to folks that have disorders of the brain that affect functioning. Okay. So this is one of the charts in chapter 1. This is the prevalence of a few of the most common neurological disorders in the United States. So you can see this. So this is. Anybody know what? Anybody want to define prevalence first? Anybody know what that word means?
How often it occurs?
So how often it occurs per year, or?
Per 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it is. So how often it occurs at any point in time. These numbers are per 1,000. Incidence is new cases per year. So that's the distinction there. So these are epidemiological. So you have autism, CP, Tourette syndrome, migraines. Do you have migraines in here? Epilepsy, MS, stroke, all those different things. Yeah. So these are actually quite common. Migraines are very common. I don't know anybody that's needed speech language pathology treatment for them. It can be quite serious, up to kind of PGF serious. But all the rest of these we treat. I work with people with autism, CP, Tourette's, not epilepsy, but I've known people with other neurological disorders that also have epilepsy. We work with folks with MS, ALS, who've had strokes, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, and a whole lot more. A whole lot of the folks that we work with have neurologically based disorders. And we'll be talking a lot more about these as the term goes on. Looking at this list, does anybody know where one of these, like where the locus of impairment is? Somebody mentioned Parkinson's disease. Is that you?
I mentioned it, but somebody else mentioned it too.
Okay, sorry. And that's in the basal ganglia, right? What about some of these other ones? Anybody know?
Well, isn't cerebral palsy just like a broad spectrum of damage to the brain? It can be pretty much anywhere.
It's not one thing, it's exactly right. It's often very diffuse too, so you can't always see lesions. Anybody know what cerebral palsy is? Everybody know what that is? There are different types, so it definitely varies, and even in the same type, everybody's very different from each other. It's from cerebral palsy is what you'll see in children from brain damage that happened before or around the time of birth. So you can't always localize it, but it affects motor functioning. That's the most common type, the most commonly visible type, where you'll see somebody with more or less intact cognitive functioning that maybe can't walk or walks with a different kind of gait. So it's a familiar one for most folks. Any others?
MS is in the myelin sheath, like damaged myelin sheath.
Yeah, that's right. So it's your nervous system or your immune system is attacking the myelin, and they don't know why or how. They can be anywhere. So you have lesions anywhere. Any others?
Alzheimer's is a little more global, but it has like protein plaques building up and tangles within neurons.
So amyloid plaques and beta amyloid plaques and neurofibrillary tangles. And it does actually start in the temporal lobe in the hippocampus. So that's why the early signs of short-term memory loss and word finding problems. Stroke can be anywhere. Anywhere there's blood. Blood. What Tourette's? It's another basic ganglia disorder. So it's actually a hyperkinetic dysarthria. It means you can't inhibit. It's a short version. Then ALS starts in your motor system. Amyotrophic amyo, so myo is muscle, A is lack of, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Anybody know the famous person that has that? Lou Gehrig's. Oh, yeah, Lou Gehrig's disease. Yeah. But somebody's still alive today. Famous physicist Stephen Hawking. And actually, I should say, they say he has ALS. He actually has something called PLS, which is peripheral lateral sclerosis. Because most people with ALS die within 5 years from diagnosis. He's had that diagnosis for a really long time. Okay. So one thing I really liked about this chapter is it goes into a historical perspective of our understanding of neurology. You were the one that brought up neurology, right? Tell me your name.
Lizzie, like a lizard.
Lizard like a lizard. But we got banana Brianna up here somewhere. Lizard back there. So phrenology was on this. Is sort of one of the older beliefs, but the spectrum is a little different. So, has anybody heard of the mind-brain debate? Mind-brain debate. So that's sort of part of the spectrum. And there's still today debates going on about whether we can localize function, kind of like modern phrenology, or if it's really more about the connections in systems. And the consensus in cognitive science and neuroscience is largely that it functions in systems. So I can't point to like Broca's area and say, this is where language lives, right here. Everybody know what Broca's area is? We'll be talking about it in here. The Broca's area helps to organize information that allows us to speak. It's not by itself doing everything you need for language. It's connected to the rest of your brain as well. And so there have been a lot of theories kind of relating to the spectrum. And one of the mind-brain debate refers to this sort of age-old philosophical question of whether or not your mind is separate from your brain. Anybody have thoughts about that? You get what I mean when I ask that? Okay.
Well, I don't know if this is correct, but I usually think the mind is like the personality kind of area, and then the brain is more of the scientific aspect.
Like it. I've heard it referred to as hardware versus software, which I actually really don't like computer analogies, but it's sort of a similar thing to what you're saying. So interestingly, personality is you can have impairments to personality due to anatomical changes. So orbitofrontal cortex, which is orbito around your eye, right under here. So when folks have a frontal brain injury, happens a lot in traumatic brain injury, when you hit your head, you can damage that area, and then your personality will be quite different after. So personality, I don't know that explains it. But for the whole area of philosophy, it's still pretty exposed. So you have these radical localists, that's easier, like phrenologists, that really say it's just a collection of parts that each have their own individual function, versus holists that say you can't really do that at all. You just have to look at the brain as a whole. And any changes are going to be individual and different from person to person. Most people fall somewhere in the middle. And I won't go over all the history. It was actually really fascinating and fun. So if that's something you're curious about, come talk to me because I can recommend a ton of books that are fun to read about that. But there are a few highlights. So phrenology is one of them. Has anybody ever seen a poster like this or a model like this? So this is a phrenology model, and you have these different pieces here that correspond to different things like aggression or musical ability or all these different things. And there's no way to do that. Your skull, as somebody else pointed out, head size has nothing to do, and brain size actually has nothing to do with intelligence. Otherwise, so you have whales and elephants, and then you have super smart things like zebrafish that can do interesting things with memory, or crows, which are crazy smart, kind of creepy actually. Their heads are very tiny. So phrenology was sort of based on that same idea that that area is bigger, it must do something more important for that person. I love about posters and models you can still get antiques. Now, it also shows you the famous folks in the history of neurology, Paul Broca being one of them. So Paul Broca coined the name of the area, Broca's area, right? Omar just mentioned. The guy know what Broca's area is thought to do. I said it a second ago, sort of.
Speech production.
Jackie. Speech production, yep. That's right. And so his story was pretty interesting. He had a client that had aphasia and that couldn't speak but could understand pretty well. Has anybody met somebody with aphasia before in here? With aphasia? Danielle's like, yeah. So I'm going to try to bring somebody else to that has aphasia, so I'll bring a couple people. But there are one thing that strikes me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, the four of you. One thing that strikes me about somebody with aphasia is that they're often really good communicators even when they don't have very many words. And so this struck Paul Broca as well, and he was fascinated with this case. And after he died, the patient, presumably this was the 1800s, gave him permission to dissect his brain and to look to see what happened. And he was completely lesioned around Broca's area. And so that sort of was the foundation of neurolinguistics, which is my field of study, and what started off a whole chain of science around what does the brain do, how does it support what we're doing. And I could go on and on about all those things. If you have a curiosity in that, I do talk about it a lot more in neurolinguistics, actually what I'm going to after this. Carl Wernicke is another person that's really famous, so there's a whole lot of other ones that are really fascinating. So bringing it back to communication disorders, obviously somebody with aphasia is important to our field. Those are some of the folks that we treat. It's one of the most commonly recognized disorders by speech language pathologists. So that one's kind of obvious, but there are a lot of other people that have more subtle impairments. I like working with people with traumatic brain injury. People don't often recognize that they have communication impairments because they can be quite subtle, and they may not be as obvious. So it runs the whole gamut. And so I like this little chart kind of at the end of your chapter, talking about the importance of neurology communication disorders. So the whole goal of learning all these things is to understand what the typical system is, how can it break, how can it be damaged. We have labels for that type of damage. Sometimes there's things that nobody's ever seen before. We don't know how to label it. Those types of conditions there lead to communication disorders, and then we evaluate and treat them as speech language pathologists. I don't think anybody would argue with me about the importance. Okay, so I only have 2 minutes left, so we won't really have time to get started. I think it actually might be easier for y'all to start this at home. Does everybody have a pair of scissors in the bag? So one thing I forgot to mention, I would like y'all to make sure to have colored pencils. It's on your list on the syllabus. I didn't get that in for most part, but I don't actually care what brand or anything like that, as long as you have at least like eight colors-ish. So we'll be working with those. So I thought the first activity would be sort of before you dive into all your chapters and know how to label the brain, let's see what you do know. Do you know the names of the lobes? Do you know where the motor strip is? Do you know where focus area is on the brain? And I was sort of debating. I thought about buying swim caps, but 60 swim caps, it's like even $1 a piece for the cheap latex ones, it's still $60. So swim caps would be fun. Maybe we'll do that later in the term. But make your caps, and then before we go, I want to ask your opinion on something I'm asking you already. So my thought was if we'll draw on each other with markers. What do you think about that?
Yes.
Does that sound doable? I haven't done this activity before. You want to try it out? If it doesn't work, we'll scrap it. But we'll partner up next time. And I want you to be thinking about be flexible. It's funner for learning when you try new things, okay? So come in next time with this done, or at least ready to stick together. We'll wear them. One size fits all. You'll have to let me know if it fits. Your head's on the larger side. And then we'll draw on each other. I'll bring a bunch of markers.
We got there like Friday around 6 p.m. Saturday. I need to brush up on some.
Yeah.